In today's episode, a dark thought experiment. What if Lenin came back today, not to fight capitalism, but to lead a revolt against artificial intelligence?
So let's try this. Let's try a little thought game. Okay? Let's put ourselves in this is weird. Let's say you are the Vladimir Lenin of the AI revolution, being that you are going to lead uh, America, and if America leads, then we lead the world, which is still the case, I think.
Hmm.
And come up with a plan how you're going to do it. Like, I'm listening to a podcast 100 years from now, and this is how Don led the AI revolution. And I'm not talking about the technical side of the AI revolution. I'm talking about you say this well. There's the economic side and then there's a political side. How would you, Don, lead the political side of this revolution as if you are Vladimir Lenin uh, in the early part of the 20th century? What would you do? Who would you link up with? Who would you, what would you proselytize? You would have to be somebody that, because there's going to be a lot of disgruntled people. We agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's got to talk to these disgruntled people. How are you
Yeah.
going to talk to them? Are you going to do YouTube podcasts? Is this screen going to go from Dennis and Don to a big screen of Don? And Don is now leading, he's leading the world in this
Right.
revolution. The floor is yours.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So how would I be leading the world? Well, first off, I think I would um I'd inform people, right? This isn't getting discussed much, I don't think. Not nearly as much as it deserves. And it's not being discussed, I think, by politicians very much at all. Um, an example, for AI to work very well, it requires tons and tons and tons of data. For you to have tons and tons of data, you need tons and tons of spinning disks. In order to have tons and tons of spinning disks, you need a lot of electricity. We don't have enough electricity. So what's been going on back in the US? Electricity prices are skyrocketing. Okay. And people are paying upfront for the investment in AI. Okay. So here's where I'll put my Lenin hat on, right? So you're telling me I have to pay for the electric company's investment that they are going to turn around and use to save tons and tons of money. Huh? What?
You
Yeah,
talking about
what?
who's going to save money, the electrical company or the
The
AI company?
electrical company is going to save tons and tons of money because AI is going to be making things more and more efficient.
For the electrical
Everyone's
company?
going to save tons and tons of money. And so that's the thing is that they're currently people basically paying for the investments that are going to save the company money. So it's like you're paying twice. Why aren't the companies paying for the investments? Right? And we're
Talking about the
enabling,
electrical company. I don't know if they sell bonds to do the investment.
they do sell bonds and then they also jack up your electricity bill. Mine doubled in Little Schuyler, Virginia.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, it's up everywhere. I think there's more
yeah.
to it than that, but okay.
Well, there in Virginia, it is mostly due to the the electrical requirements of data centers.
I my gut tells me that's probably not true.
It's what we're being told. So fair enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's
Uh,
like, yeah, we were told our insurance, got really crappy because of, um, the Affordable Care Act, when the reality was businesses all across America decided to screw with citizens because they could blame it on the Affordable Care Act and made
okay.
changes that had
Well,
nothing to do with the Affordable Care. So
okay.
same thing here. That could be happening. I'm acknowledging it. But I think there still is, I think some of that is in fact built in to allow the electric companies to pay for that investment in data centers. And the data center then turns around and makes money for the electric company because they're selling all the electricity for the data center. You know, so as a Leninist, as a capitalist, it's like goody. You know, we don't care who gets the money. We just want to create the money. We just want to create the wealth, and if it goes to the owners of the data centers and the electrical companies and everyone else that supports this new technology, we don't care.
Well,
That's not our problem. But as
okay.
a
I think,
Leninist, that would be our problem.
I think you need to delineate the data centers are not owned by the electrical companies. They're
I
owned
know.
there, and then you have the electrical companies providing power to the data center.
That's right. But what I'm saying is that the data center is owned by someone else entirely,
Yeah.
right? But they require the electricity. The electricity actually gets paid for by the electric company's consumers, as opposed to, like you're saying, raise money through bonds, additional shares, things like that. But instead, they raise rates significantly to try to help pay for this investment. And then they get to make tons of money when said data center is stood up and they're selling them electricity. So again, that's great in capitalism. It works great. But as a Leninist, I'd say, well, okay, hold on here. First of all, as a Leninist, I'd probably want to own the electrical companies because obviously they're the bedrock of your industry, and so you would want to make sure that it was better than it is. I mean, the U.S. electrical infrastructure is pretty poor.
So you lead the rally at from the top steps of the Lincoln Memorial and say we're taking over the power companies.
Yeah,
This is in this role. I'm not saying Don Queer, but
I know.
if you
Not
were
Don
this
doesn't,
person,
but Lenin certainly does. He
okay,
absolutely
so
he
this,
wants to
well,
control
I
the
shouldn't say
capital.
you, but I want you to say what this person would do. This person would go on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, and first thing he says out of his or her mouth is, "We're taking over the power companies. They
Yes,
now belong to the government," or that's what I'm
absolutely.
planning, because these things do take time. Lenin talked about a lot of things for 20, 30 years.
That's right.
The amount of exile that man had, I did not understand. He did not live in Russia for most of his adult life. He was in Switzerland, he was in London, he
Yeah,
was in Austria,
absolutely.
he was anywhere but Russia because he got, or I won't say arrested, but he got sent to exile in Siberia. He did that for like 2 or 3 years. Said enough of this. I don't want to get arrested again. So he
Yeah,
spent time away. Okay, so this character is on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, says, first thing we're doing, we're taking over the power companies because these power companies are the backbone of the future of America and how AI is being implemented.
that's right.
Okay, that's one thing.
Yep.
Now, this person is still at the microphone and says, what? What's number two?
What's number two? Um, well, that first one is a big one. It's got a lot wrapped up in it because it would also talk about, diversifying, energy sources and all of that stuff, which
Okay, but okay,
creates a
so
more stable. So if I wanted to do additional things, what I would also do is I would nationalize the insurance industry.
Okay, so let me put words in this person's mouth.
Yep.
We're taking over the power companies.
Yes,
And when you said insurance, there's a lot of different kinds of insurance companies, Don.
that's right. It is.
Home, corporate insurance, health insurance.
Obviously, you're not going to take them all over, and there's always going to be additional insurance, but you'd certainly take over, for instance, insurance for the financial markets. So that, and here's one that Don Query actually agrees with. So back in 2008, when there was a big financial collapse, as part of the bailout, the United States of America bought AIG, which was the biggest financial insurance company in the country. They bailed it out. They owned it. And then they turned around and sold it back. At a profit, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Made money on it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd have never sold it back. Because owning AIG means you now have that insurance company and you can ensure that there's a bedrock that prevents, or it, at very least mitigates, the next crisis, which AIG had failed to do. They failed to do it because, of course, they were out for profit, right? So take the profit out of the equation, you got more funds available to actually solve the problem. You see where I'm heading. So I'd say that would be number two. I'd go after the insurance companies. That's a big deal because, let's face it, AI is going to increase a lot of risks like we talked about. So people are going to be filing insurance. So you want to be able to provide that insurance to keep people from being falling on hard times, or at least less hard times than they would. Now you've given me 5 minutes to come up with these, so keep in mind.
It's for,
it's a fun game.
it's an experiment, and I'm testing you a little bit. It's kind of fun to see you react on. I respect your mind definitely, but this is fun to flex it a little bit and give you a little pressure under a time constraint sort of. So,
Sure.
okay, this hypothetical character who is standing at the Lincoln Memorial. There's a million people in Washington, D.C. that came to watch this person, hear this person speak. They said, we're taking over the power companies. We're taking over the insurance companies. The cheers are, because all these people are unemployed. They're like, yeah, this is what we want. This is a modern day Lenin.
I don't know if they'd be any cheers, but anyway.
But in this
I'm a
audience,
modern day Lenin. If I'm a modern day Lenin, I got control over the military, so it really doesn't matter whether they like it or not.
Not before the revolution. No.
True.
You didn't have control before the revolution.
That's true. That's true.
This is.
But I've got a number three because I thought about this.
I'm sorry. This is your October 1917 speech that catapults you. I say you, but this hypothetical character into the person who leads this revolution. So you took over in electrical companies, basically power generation companies. Then you're taking over insurance. Everybody's cheering. They're loving this guy or girl. And number three is now what?
Okay, so number three, and maybe this should have been number one. I gave this a tiny bit of thought the other day when we had that discussion of capitalism versus communism. So it's like, and this is a soapbox issue for me. I beat up all kinds of people in my pubs over this. Capitalism, they talk about the invisible hand, right? And everybody equates the invisible hand these days to greed. Okay, so the invisible hand is what makes the market, right? It allows people to go out and find what they're looking for, to buy what they're looking for, and to identify things that are wanted that aren't available, right? That's the invisible hand making all that work. Okay, and a lot of times you'll hear economists and others talking about it as though it's essentially, human greed, their want for more, the accumulation of capital. Okay, fine.
Self-interest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
self-interest, etc. But that's not what Adam Smith wanted. That's not what Adam Smith saw as the invisible hand. The reason we know that is because the book he put out right before The Wealth of Nations was a treatise on moral principles.
Yeah, I think I know that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he was not all about greed and the accumulation of capital. He thought we should be a moral society. Okay, so how are we going to get morality back into the game? I mean, people try it from time to time, right? People try to be a green investor, right? As an example, and even, cancellations, right? Which basically is just people putting their money where they want to, um, you know, uh, is sort of trying to put, an individual's value structure into their finances and therefore influencing the market in what they believe to be a moral way, right? So that sort of thing. But it's like, could we make some other change to the current environment of the United States that would make it perhaps a fairer, economic system? And my idea, and it's not a brand new idea, but it would require some sort of legislation that there's a term called piercing the corporate veil. So corporations are created for the benefit of society. If you read law, business law, corporations are created for the benefit of society, and as compensation for that benefit, they're given a limited liability.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Right. So the folks who sold all the painkillers, I can't remember the family's name right now, pharma, ownership, they got away. They had to lose a lot of the money that they made, but they still got away scot-free. They're not in jail or anything like that, right? So
because
my
it's
idea is
just,
that you
just so it's a corporate entity which has its
right.
own, like you said, limited liability corporation.
That's right.
And so yeah, they're not liable there's limits to the liability.
That's right.
So
I would change those limits.
well, I would say that has been this corporation and corporate entities that have limited liability are why people have been willing to start businesses and investments and eventually get them to become corporations, because they know that if they make a mistake, and let's say the mistake, and now if they have morals and ethics, it's a mistake. It's not. I didn't purposefully uh, do things to hurt people. I think you can get criminal liability into people and corporations, into people that do criminality, but
Very difficult to do.
it's difficult. I agree, but it's also been a boom to our culture and our wealth creating ability as a country, having these corporations.
I do agree. I
Yeah.
wouldn't disagree with that.
So,
I'm not asking you to get rid of corporations. I'm
yeah,
saying
okay.
that the
So, but we had
changing
one
those
and
laws
two.
to
You're bringing up three. So, what is this three that you're talking about?
the three is the change to the legal foundation of corporations and easing restrictions on what's called piercing the corporate veil and going after the officers of the corporation for their actions, or more importantly, the results of their actions. And there's a little bit difference there, right? It's like just because the CEO tells people, and this has been done occasionally, but it's done very infrequently, and that's mostly because the courts don't allow it very frequently. And I think if you actually have a legislature that is willing to write a law and was willing to write this law, then maybe it would happen a little more frequently. But you've got all kinds of business cases where there were these indirect results that were completely foreseeable, but weren't acted upon. And as a result, there was a great deal of damage done, but you can't get the smoking gun, quote unquote, to that CEO saying, "Oh, I know that could happen and we're going to do it." Well, I'm sorry, I don't think that's good enough. It's not good enough in criminal law at times, and I don't think it should always be good enough in corporate law either. And so what would happen is there would be an assessment made as to whether that corporation, if there's no benefit to society, if it's if they're not providing a net benefit to society, then pierce the corporate veil and go after the officers, and then people are going to start behaving in a different fashion. And I don't mean a less risk averse fashion, because I don't necessarily think that will happen. I mean, the thing that's happened in the US recently, fairly recently anyway, I think in my lifetime, is the amount of money that an investor requires before they'll make an investment has gone sky high. So it used to be, financial theory is that people will continue to invest as long as they can make a penny. There's a return on that investment. Someone out there will fill in that little void under the curve and make that investment to get that penny. Others will require more. Well, in the US, it's really not that at all anymore. So it's hard to get people to make investments in, smaller return scenarios. I go to a bank, for instance. One of my MBA projects was I was going to open a little brew pub, out in the state of Washington. And
good place.
The panel that I was presenting to, several people on the panel said it was absolutely a beautiful idea. They thought it would make money. They wanted to know if there, where would we be? How would we turn it into a franchise? I said I didn't want to. I just wanted a little brew pub in Washington. And and the bankers said, well, we won't give you money because we can't invest in restaurants because they don't last long enough and there's not a big enough return on investment. Even though these same bankers said, we'd come to your pub, we think it's a great idea, and in fact, we'd give you our own money to help open this pub because they liked it. It's a true story. Okay, now I didn't open the pub because I moved back to the East Coast because I needed work. But anyway, my point is that, in the US, it's not all about making money, it's making lots of money. Well, one of the things that I think would happen, as you're pointing out, people would be making less money because they're going to be more risk averse. They're going to be aware that their actions can actually be criminally liable, right? So they're going to take more care. That's going to create less capital. True, right? You just put a bend on the amount of, you turn down on some of that capital that was going to get created. But you know what? What you've done is made people willing to invest for less, because the fact of the matter is the more won't be there anymore. This is a theory of mine, right? It's like if you can make $10 million, then I see why you wouldn't want to make one. But if the most you can make is $1 million, well, then there can be a lot of people willing to invest in $1 million.
Okay, so, Don. That one,
crazy thought.
That interesting, and I get it. It's something, and you said it would be number one. I don't see this as generating a big round of applause unless you word it another way. I mean, you're Lenin. You're not Don Query. You are not you, but this person. You can't sell what you just said. It's too...
but unfortunately, I am Don Query. I'm not a salesman. That's for sure.
Okay, but
so that's a weakness
Don,
of mine. So,
use this this capacity that you have. because
Sell it.
when
The
you
only way I
said
could sell it would just be to say that, corporations exist. Um, uh, the reason corporations exist is because they're supposed to be providing a benefit to society. We're going to enact legislation that ensures that that actually happens. And in those cases, where instead of being a benefit, it's a liability or a detriment to society, we're going to go after the officers involved and uh, and pierce the corporate veil much more frequently.
okay, that I can I'm in the audience and I'm like, yeah, we're taking over the power companies. Yeah, we're taking over the insurance companies. Yeah, we're going to put the CEOs in jail. Perfect. This is what I call a revolution. I'm digging it now. Uh, anything else you want to send out to the masses?
Off the off the cuff, I can't come up with anything else right
Let me
now.
maybe I can think of something. This is
Yeah.
hypothetical. For me, I don't think I'd start with either the power companies or the insurance companies, uh, because it's kind of, I don't think I'm not going to get the fan reaction that I really want. I want to,
Okay.
I like putting the CEOs in jail. That'll get, especially the
That'll
people
rouse people up.
who have a lot of hate in them are really going to like that one.
There's a few of those out there.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget this million person rally in DC is happening. A lot of these people are unemployed. They don't have jobs anymore. They got a lot of time on their hands. And maybe at this point, the universal basic income isn't high enough. Or maybe they have too much time on their hands. So hey, there's a rally in DC in May. The weather should be good. You know, uh, whatever. We'll go there and we'll have some nice drinks or whatever, party out. It'll be fun. So I'm okay. So I'm putting it on myself now because here's what I would say. I would say I'm giving you your jobs back. I'm taking control away from the artificial intelligence. I'm taking control away from the droids. We are going back to work. And I think if I was in that audience, I didn't have a job, I'd say that's exactly what I want. I want to work. I don't want to sit at home on chess.com all day. I don't want to whatever the warrior game, Mortal Kombat, I don't know what they are. That would resonate with me
I
and
agree.
say, that's all I really want. I just want to live a good life. I want to uh, have I want to bring value to the world. I don't want to go to these cooking classes that the government has set up for me to keep me busy and maybe keep me out of trouble. I don't want to make trouble for other people, but I want to have some value to the world. And
So are you
just
going to
give me
shut down AI entirely?
this is hypothetical now.
I know.
I
Hold
didn't.
on. That's what I'm asking.
Okay. Here's how I would say it. Yeah, I would say this, but how I would actually implement it. Because let's say I'm in the audience. I'm a young man. I'm 24. I went to a good law school. I did well on my exams, passed the bar exam. Looking for a job. There's absolutely nothing out there for a young lawyer. And so now, I sit at home, I play chess, I go video games, I went to the government cooking class, I know how to make creme brulee now. It's really exciting. Um,
It's
and
exciting.
so I would say I want that job at that law firm. And but they don't need me. So is the Lenin of this, the Lenin would say, We are demolishing the artificial intelligence in the law firms. He would say it with a Russian accent instead of whatever accent I just had it there. Um, and the level-headed people would probably say the people, the czars and the upper class and the landowners of Russia would say, well, that's nonsense. People did fight Lenin. They fought him hard. The Bolsheviks uh, didn't have an easy road to hoe, and the there was a lot to that. I won't go into too far, but it was touch and go for the communists in the early going. And they were being battled, the I think the Reds and the Whites, the Whites were basically the uh, upper class and some foreign people who didn't want to see communism take hold in such proximity, and so they battled it out. The communists ended up winning. Um, so there will be people who will look at this speech in D.C. and say, we need to fight this guy. He wants to take AI away from us. Um, you asked how would I do it? I don't need to know how. I'm just going to promise everybody and get them behind me and lead this revolution.
That's not fair. Takes the intellectual exercise part of it completely out.
I don't know. Okay, maybe I've filmed. Where would you take
No,
that?
I don't. I don't think. I mean, we actually talked about that in the last podcast, which was, that would be one of those changes that you'd make um, to slow down AI. So, you would pick industries where perhaps you didn't want it to be allowed, to slow down those sorts of changes and pick other industries where you thought it was providing the sort of return that you wanted.
Okay,
You know,
so
you're the leader. You get to decide what's a good automated industry and what's a better people industry.
exactly. Here's where this leader then uses his minions, her minions, whoever,
Hmm.
and goes out to these law firms, knock on the door. We're here to do your AI inspection, and we want to see if you're using AI to do things that young lawyers should be doing.
Hmm.
And they come in and they go, this ties in with your going after the CEOs,
Hmm.
and says, I'm sorry, but your law firm used to employ 500 attorneys. You now have 200. They're all senior. Where are the young lawyers? You are now fined. You're going to jail. You've used
Right.
AI to replace these young lawyers.
Yep.
And
Just a thought.
as a young person, and now I show up at that law firm thanks to this revolution, and I show up at this company and go, I'm here to help.
Right.
Um, I don't I don't see that being too sustainable, but it would
No,
feel good. It's like this.
but
Here's the
it's
thing, October of 1917, Lenin goes and gives these big speeches. It was in St. Petersburg. I think they called it
mm,
Petrograd. They changed the name or something.
well, they changed the name
And
several times, I think.
he what's interesting is the hit squads started almost immediately after taking people out that were against them. Um, so maybe if we bring similarities between the Russian Revolution and this revolution together, this person would, we'd try to do it ethically and morally, but it may have to be done. It wouldn't have to be done, but they may choose to do it Uh,
One of the biggest concerns,
yeah,
yeah, is that
this,
whoever tried to implement these changes are, I mean, let's face it, there are no easy choices here. There are hard choices coming. And so, how do you, I think to your point, how do we do it peacefully? It should be probably the most important
and
aspect of the whole thing.
that's where
That's
I
going to be
don't
hard.
have confidence that it will be done peacefully. Human nature, we wait and wait and wait, and then we go, holy crap, 20% unemployment. People get very unrest. Human
I,
nature is not, like you said, it's not being discussed very much. I hear it being talked about AI
yeah.
and the what's coming and everything, but I follow a lot of these groups, and I'm tuned in with a lot of AI stuff.
Hmm.
But I think getting ahead of it, um, I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. And
Oh, you didn't ask me if I thought, yeah, we could actually pull it off. Um, no, I don't think anything. I don't think it is going to be done.
yeah,
Um, and I think a lot of the, loss of life associated with AI, it's not going to be some computer running some flying, you know, droid around killing people directly,
no,
machines killing people. It's going to be people killing people,
yeah,
but it's going to be because of changes that happen in society as a result of AI. And some of them could be indirect. Don't want to go environmentalist on you or anything, but all those data centers polluting the atmosphere. Here comes climate change. Okay, the U.S. has Greenland, but where's the rest of the world going? It's like there is going to be, I think, as New Orleans has to move. Okay, they've made that decision. I don't know if you heard that in Lithuania. Basically, New Orleans has been told that they need to relocate in 50 years, within 50 years.
well, it's a good amount of time.
So plenty of places are going to be like that, right? That's not going to go over well, obviously.
Well,
What is that
part
sort
of
of mass relocation going to do?
yeah, part of their problem is they're sinking, not just the water's rising.
Oh, for sure, but
Yeah.
but still, it's happening in lots of places, and it's going to
Um,
continue to happen. So as those things happen, yeah, you're asking people to move. People don't move easily, and that's certainly there's been a whole lot of war regarding
if they got 50
changing
years to
in
move,
borders.
Don, if they got 50 years to move, I think it'll be okay.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just using it as an example of that.
Yeah.
It's a real world problem that's already occurring. It's going to happen more and more. From all indications, you
Yeah,
know,
but here's the thing. You talked about, okay, these data centers are polluting the air. Well, guess what? Musk wants them in outer space, run off solar power.
what'd you say?
I don't know if you, Musk, his, they're moving forward with launching data centers into the upper stratosphere and run them off solar power.
Well, that's interesting. I'd be fascinated if they could actually get enough power off of it.
Oh
But
yeah,
probably a bigger
and
deal is, of course,
it's
getting
so
the.
cold, you're not in the atmosphere, so it's
Oh, that's great. That's the great
absolute
aspect of
zero,
it.
no cooling
Yeah,
issues. Um,
yeah. No,
yeah,
that's the good
that's
part.
that's part of why they merged SpaceX with X,
Yeah,
so they can launch the data centers into outer space.
yeah. Now it's getting the information back down from outer space in a more efficient fashion than, for
They wouldn't be
instance,
trying it if they weren't
Starlink
doing it.
can.
I mean, they
You
wouldn't.
know.
They've figured that out, I guess. So, yeah, I'm just I'm visualizing this scene in Washington D.C. And
And it's the
maybe
same.
that's old school. Maybe this would play out in chat rooms or Zoom calls or something else. Uh, maybe people would just stop caring. Maybe they'd get a nice little check from the government that kind of redistributes things, like this attorney, this hypothetical attorney I was talking about, Young. He says, "Well, you know what? I'm only 23, and granted, I don't need to work, but this stipend I'm getting is not bad. There's a trip to Patagonia coming up. I'm in the lottery for that, and maybe I'll get that. Maybe apathy will be a big part. What do you think?"
Hmm. Maybe, but well, that's it. That's an interesting part of the whole. That's funny. That hadn't even occurred to me. Um, yeah, and you wouldn't even need uh, the more AI takes over, the less input you need from humans, and so the more apathetic they could become without damaging the economy.
Yeah, just
That's kind of a sad world when you think about it, is that, and in fact, maybe that's one of maybe that's a very good argument against AI, on top of all the other ones, which really is, it's not about the extinction of humans as much as it is about the lack of need for humans.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what do you do when you're no longer needed?
You make decisions that
I think
reflect.
Star Trek has had something to say about this, though.
Well,
But I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember that. That would have been a long time ago. But you make decisions that reflect that you aren't really needed. Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't you don't try to improve yourself, maybe. You don't further your education. Your employment, which was such a big part of your existence, at least it was throughout our lifetime and through until, across the millenniums, as that becomes less and less important, other things will become less important. Physical health may become less important. What, you know,
What
um,
what will become more important?
nothing,
That's
nothing.
that's the concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, project one thing that helps me as a writer is projecting. I
Yeah.
walk around in this room or other rooms I've been in, and I pretend I am that person in that dialogue or in that room or in that fight or whatever. And what would I really need as a future person whose life has, gotten easier? I don't
Don't
do I need anything, but do I want anything? You know?
yeah, don't know if that makes an entertaining podcast, but it certainly is an interesting one to think about. Is okay, the machines have taken over. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe everyone would just be a writer. Everyone would have a podcast. Everyone would just sit around entertaining one another. We're all comedians, you
Yeah,
know.
uh, for sure. Um, yeah, I
All
don't,
right.
I think apathy would be a big part of it. So this big rally that I'm envisioning, no people don't show up, they don't care.
That's right.
You know, people aren't
That's
don't
There's the
have
good
that
news.
what?
There's the good news. Nobody cares about the politicians anymore. See, it is a better world.
Well, yeah. Um, there's
Just having fun,
definitely
Dennis.
100 benefits to having AI that I could list out that make life better, and not nearly as many that make it not as good,
Yeah.
other than does it really matter to be alive anymore?
Yeah, lack of ambition, purpose, etc. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Even if they even if the machines don't kill us, they uh perhaps would result in disabling the most important parts of us, you know.
Will to live,
Yeah.
survival instinct, those things that
Well,
made
you
us
know,
human, that made us an animal species.
yeah. No, I see. Yeah, survival instinct. Yes, we'd still survive if they decided we should. They could always hook us up to the Matrix, Dennis. We'd be all right.
I'm, I think, like I said, as projecting, this is not Dennis speaking, but I'm okay with it. Yeah, I'm being
I,
replaced by machines. I'm
but
comfortable. I eat, I drink, I sleep. I have a few things I like to do, maybe build models or exercise or have a beer with friends. But other
what
than
kind of
that, I
models you
can just
build?
fade off. I can just fade off into nothingness.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of models you build, Dennis?
You know, it's funny because that model building was something to do when we were young,
I
you
know
know.
I did it all the time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was I
yeah.
was big into the tank competitions at the hobby center there.
The hobby
Yeah,
center is
hobby
what they
shop.
called it, right?
Yeah,
The hobby
hobby
center?
shop.
Yeah.
Yep.
The typical stuff. I did military things. I did airplanes, did a lot of airplanes, cars and airplanes probably. Then some with balsa wood, balsa was
Hmm.
kind of a good thing. And then uh, some little planes that you could, of course, now they got drones that you can buy, but kind of build your own planes back then. Um,
Do you have a drone?
I don't have one, do you?
No, no. I kind of want one though, but it's already getting to the point where I thought it'd just be cool to fly around, on the Rockfish River and see stuff. But now it's like, everybody's got a drone, and now everyone's annoyed by them, and so it's like, you go over a property line, and you're liable to get shotgunned right out of the air, and there goes your drone. So, which is fair. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but anyway,
Did
um,
you ever win one of those competitions, Don?
no, there was a guy whose last name was Schwartz, who uh, beat me every single time. I
Hmm.
was second place in armor all the time, practically.
Hmm.
Um, but he was first, and it won't close. And it wasn't. I'd walk up to the window and go, maybe second, because his were so incredible.
Was he
Just
was
incredible.
he much older than you? Do you know? Or
I have no idea. I never met the guy.
hmm.
So
Remember
yeah,
that in that same hobby center, didn't they have the racetrack in the back?
yes, they did.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah, my
fun
brother
place.
and I used to. Oh, that was really fun. My brother and I used to go out there. And as a matter of fact, one of the last times my brother visited me, I found a track that was fairly close to me. I said, "Rock, you want to go race?" And he was like, "No." But another friend of mine on aging, he has a saying. He says, "First to the basket, then to the casket." And so his theory is, and you see this happen all the time, as you get older, you start remembering your childhood and you start doing the things from your childhood again. So, I
Mm.
thought that was a great one was, hey, we could go back to the track and race our cars again, and he just was like, that's foolishness. But I think lots of people are like me, So for instance, I actually have a model back in Schuyler that I didn't bring to Germany because it's like I'm not going to be building models in Germany. But it's an old Panzerkampfwagen 4, a tank from World War II, and so I'll build it and paint it up, maybe put it on a diorama or something, and yeah, be something fun to do.
You have it there, you say?
Yeah, it's in Schuyler. Yeah, back
Oh,
home.
when you go back.
Yeah, I didn't bring it to Germany. So
Ah.
No, assuming I don't know how long I know we're going back. I love that house.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. We've really loved Europe, so I
Yeah.
don't know
You
where we'll
know,
end up
you know where
staying.
you cannot buy that German Panzer tank from World War II?
Germany, probably.
Germany.
Yeah, you don't see as many of the World War II tanks, although there is a museum in Germany that you can actually go to see the real thing.
Mm.
So, but yeah, obviously the war isn't glorified in any way
Yeah.
here. Um, so understandably,
Yeah.
and it's like it's funny. I feel so guilty when we go like to one of the places in Germany associated with World War II, right? I mean, I tell Lorna, I'm like, it just makes me miserable. I'm really enjoying Germany. I really enjoyed Germans, and here I am going to the Nuremberg rally point. It's like
Mm.
I feel like like I'm spitting in their face or something, which I'm not doing at all. It's just this is history. You've seen it in the films. You want to be there. Um, but interestingly, it's like that. I don't know if you've been there, but they're just letting it naturally crumble.
Mm.
So you can't really even recognize what it is. You really have to have your mind's eye working to go, okay, this is what it was.
Hmm.
It's just slowly crumbling.